I haven't slept well at all this week, like entire week. So.
Well, we'd like to
I
officially
feel that.
welcome Alex Bajorquez to the class. He made it in.
Hey, congrats, man.
Thank
Ah,
you.
Hey, for Alex.
Thank you.
A&R finally got him in.
System, it works.
Yay.
All right.
I'm
Welcome
as,
to class.
I'm as cool as Ben, I think, almost
Yeah,
there.
you're official now.
Sweet.
All right. So I believe that I said that we were going to do some sight reading today. Is this a true story?
Sounds about right.
Partially true story.
It's either today or tomorrow.
Perhaps.
Yeah. Tomorrow, what's going on tomorrow?
Quizzy poo. I mean,
Quizzy poo.
And homework you
Yes.
do.
Yeah. And the homework's due. Good. All right. I'm going to head to Unit 12 real quick, just as a review for us. And this is page 165. No.
195.
No. 160.
160.
162. Now,
162.
am I recording? I'm recording. I want to talk a little bit about sight reading. And I want to talk about one of my favorite sight reading books. I really like. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. My scarlet wig's out.
Yeah.
I want to talk about this series. It's called 4-Star Sight Reading and Ear Tests. This is a really great series of books. Totally not required for this class, but good to know about for life. These books are put out by the Royal Conservatory of Music in Canada. They're published by themselves now, I believe. The website is rcmusic. Let me make sure that I tell you the right thing. I never can remember if it's .com or .org. rcmusic.com. And basically what they are is they are a music conservatory in Toronto. If you take piano lessons in Canada, you've probably taken lessons from a teacher that teaches out of these books. They have a Prep A, Prep B, and then a level 1 through 10, and then they have advanced certificates that count towards college work in Canada. They've come to the United States several times, and they're finally sticking in the United States. People are using their materials, and it's continuing to grow, I think, in the United States. So I use these books with my own private studio students. And they have a whole curriculum. They have 5 books. They have a theory book. They have a repertoire book, which is just pieces. They have a book of etudes. They have a technique book. And they have the sight reading and ear tests book. And that's the book that I kind of want to read from to you today to see how they teach ear training and sight reading. Sight reading mainly sight reading. The books are really expensive.
How expensive? Because I'm actually interested.
So this sight reading book is $16.
16.
16.
That is a lot of money. I don't think I can afford it.
But here's the thing. If you buy like the whole set of all 5 books, it's a lot. Let me just throw on their webpage here. So here's their bookstore, right? Right now everything's on sale because they're getting down to the end of their syllabus. They redo their books every 7 years. So if I was to buy all 5 books, we're talking $73, $80, depends on the level. The higher the level, the more pages, the more expensive the book. So, you know, when you can go down to Gottschalk's Musics and buy, you know, a piano book for $8, and all of a sudden the books have doubled in price. It's a lot for for parents sometimes, and it's a lot for college kids. So I don't require these books. Perhaps I should, but I haven't required these books.
You mean there's 5 books for Prep A and then another
Yeah.
5 books for Prep B?
Uh-huh.
Each level you go to, there's those 5 books.
Right. So
Okay.
this is level 1 through 5, and the higher levels, like level 7, it's $85. So they fluctuate in price, but yeah, you're generally talking $70 to $85 in cost. But I want to read to you how they recommend that you do ear training. And not ear training, sight playing. We call it sight reading, they call it sight playing. And they give 4 things for you to do. And so I want to read what they say to do. The first thing that they say to do is to preview the music. They say, take time to study the example. Determine the tonality by looking at the key signature, opening and closing notes, and scale or chord pattern. If the key is unfamiliar to you, practice the corresponding scale and tonic triad plus inversions to review the notes and fingering. Observe the structure of the music, looking at phrasing as well as shorter melodic and rhythmic patterns. Mark important items such as fingering, dynamics, and articulation markings directly on the music. Notice the tempo indication, if any, as well as expressive markings. That was a lot. How many of those things did you get? Let's make a list.
Tonality, look at tonality and open and close notes.
Yeah. So step 1 is to preview the music. And they said to tonality, good. That's what you said. They said to look at the key signature.
Signature.
They said opening and closing notes. They said to look for scale or chord patterns. They said, if needed, play the scale or tonic triads and inversions to be familiar with key and fingering. They said observe the structure. They said look at phrasing. And then they said to look for melodic and rhythmic patterns. They said to mark fingering, dynamics, and articulations. And then they said to notice the tempo marking and expressive markings. That was a lot.
Mhm.
They gave us 10 bullet points of things to notice. I'm going to add a couple more to their list. I'm going to add note where to put your hands, where to set up your hands. Set your hands up. I don't like that. Set up your hands. The other thing that I'm going to say is to look for fingering that indicates hand position changes. Okay? That's the first thing that they tell us to do. The second thing that they tell us to do whoa. I just want to underline you. Can I not underline you? I guess I can't underline.
But these books like you would recommend, right?
I do recommend these books highly. The trick's going to be finding what level is good for you. And I would imagine somewhere around
At the
3.
beginning?
Well, you very well could start at Prep A, but I would say that it's more like level 3, level 4 is going to match what our book level is. All right, the
I
next
trust.
thing
Yeah,
next-
I
yeah, but
trust
we
that judgment.
can match our individual level.
right. Yeah, I mean, you could order them all. All right, the next thing they tell us to do is to practice the rhythm. They say to improve sight reading accuracy, rehearse the rhythm of the excerpt so you know how it goes before you play. Determine the best way to count based on the time signature and note values. Then set the tempo by tapping and counting the one measure. Sing the rhythm out loud or tap it on the closed keyboard cover. So they said rehearse the rhythm. Before you play. They said determine the best way to count. Based on time signature and note values. They said to tap, set the tempo by tapping and counting one measure before you start. And they said to sing or tap the rhythm. Okay. Next, they say to play silently. Prepare for passages with complex fingering, large leaps, or coordination challenges by practicing them silently on the surface of the keys until they are comfortable. This will lead to greater accuracy when you play out loud. So, play silently on keys. Preparing passages with complex fingering, large leaps, or coordination challenges. And then they say, play out loud. And when you play out loud, they say, choose a tempo that will allow you to play without hesitating. That's important. Choose a tempo that will allow you to play without hesitating. They say, keep your eyes on the music as much as possible, focusing your attention on groups of notes that form recognizable patterns. Rather than individual notes. Do not stop to correct mistakes. Yeah? So that's how I want us to think about preparing for sight reading. I'm going to take a picture of this. I think it's good. Cool?
Huh.
It's a lot, but every little bit helps. Let me save this as well.
Yeah.
Later. It's a good reference.
Absolutely.
Now, when you have performed as a concert pianist in your career. Okay, so like when you're given a piece of music to perform, right? You actually sit down and do things like clap rhythms and all that kind of stuff, right?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. It's funny because, you know, in my piano classes, I use different terminology than I do in my theory and ear training classes. When
Sure.
it comes to rhythm, I'm using apples and pies and huckleberries and strawberries and butterscotches and merrilies and all that. But I don't teach that in my ear training and theory classes. I make them use, you know, more academic counting verbiage.
Mm-hmm.
But in my own personal practice, I'm saying the huckleberries and the pies and the strawberries and the merrilies. Right? I had this adult student in my piano 1 class, and she, you know, had taken some voice lessons before, and she knew a little bit about music, and she would not buy into my counting of rhythm. And she fought it, and she fought it, and she fought it. And she came to me at the very end, and she said, you know, I fought and fought your rhythm. And I said, I know you did. She says, but it works. And she started working on her own vocal music using the same rhythm. So, yeah, I absolutely do rhythm work, a lot of practicing, a lot of different practice strategies. I teach a lot of my practice strategies in my intermediate advanced piano class. I would encourage you all to take intermediate advanced piano after this class. It's a really fun class. It's a great group of people. It's easier than this class. You get to pick 2 pieces to work on, and we do the RCM technique as well. So right now you're kind of learning all of the technique, all the scales, and all of the arpeggios. When you hit intermediate advanced, we take it back a step and we focus on certain keys per level. We add a couple of technique skills like triads and that sort of thing. But yeah, I go over how I would practice myself every class lesson or master class. That's probably a really long-winded answer for your question.
It's fine. I don't mind.
Yeah. Other questions? All right, so let's try to take these things. I'm going to see if it'll let me share my desktop if I get the whiteboard or not. I don't know that I get the whiteboard. I guess I don't. Can I do a new share and add the whiteboard? Ooh, can I do this? It won't hold shift to select multiple windows. All right, I want that one. It won't let me. Well, poopy. All right, well, we're just going to have to remember. So let's look at this. I am on page 162, and we're looking at this moderato example. Let's try in our previewing of the music to address everything they told us to. So what can you tell me about this example? Oops, I'm sorry. There we go.
In key of D. Oh, wait a minute. What D major?
We're doing number 1 here, right?
Yeah. Oh. No, it's number
major.
1 is in G.
G major. Good job. Okay.
And it's starting on G, so that means we're not doing them.
Good. We start on G's. Do
Mhm.
we end on G's?
Yep.
We end on a G. We end on a G. Good. What else?
Mezzo piano
Mezzo piano dynamic. Good.
Mm-hmm.
and moderate tempo.
Moderate tempo. Good. What else?
Alberti bass.
Alberti bass. That's a great pattern pickup, Ben.
Oh.
What do you mean by Alberti bass?
Alberti bass means you play the bottom note, the top note, the middle note, the top note. And it's called Alberti bass because Alberti was the composer that used it a lot.
Okay. So I was just looking at that and trying to figure out which GBD.
Yep. So let's do a little harmonic analysis. This is straight from your chord progression. 1, 4, back to 1. What's this one?
5, 6, 4.
5, 6, 5, because it's the
5, 6,
7th
5,
chord. Yep. This is straight from page 170's chord progression. Back to 1, 4, 5, and back to 1. So we've got a harmonic plan here. Does that make sense? All right. What else? We did the key signature. We did open and closing notes. We did scale and chord patterns.
You have slur.
2 phrases. Good.
Yes.
Phrase there. Phrase there. I'm going to clear some of this so we can keep seeing things. What else? Observe the structure. We did that with the harmony. Look into the phrasing as well. Shorter melodic and rhythmic patterns.
What do you mean by phrase?
This is a phrase right here. This phrase.
Like sentence.
Yeah, Luda said a sentence. We could play all these notes individually and kind of plunk them out, but it wouldn't really mean anything. They want you to play them in a smooth legato way that they're all connected, and they will make more musical sense that way. If we were vocalists, we would not take a breath anywhere in this phrase mark, or we would kill the phrase. If we were a violinist, we would not change our bow direction as much as we can in that phrase. We would try to get a long phrase, or maybe just a short, one or two bow changes when we run out of bow hair. As pianists, we can't lift our fingers. We can't breathe with our fingers, or it's not going to sound legato.
So what are all those little red lines you put in there?
I'm showing you where the vocalist would not breathe. They would
Not
breathe.
Okay, not breathe. Okay.
They wouldn't breathe until right here.
Okay.
Really, it would be right here at the end of that note's value. So we don't want to breathe with our fingers. It makes it one coherent idea, like Luda was saying. It's like a sentence. Otherwise, it is like we are pronouncing each individual syllable or letter. And it doesn't make any sense. Good. What's going on with the melody?
Melody.
As I look at this melody, it happens to fall where?
We have changes in all repetition except 6 and 7 and last and 8 on trap clef.
Wait a minute. 3 and
So
3
they
and
give us finger numbers, and when they give us finger numbers, that should be a major red clue to us. We change hand positions.
Hand position.
We don't change hand positions in the first phrase. There are no finger numbers except for our starting finger number. So all of our notes in the first phrase are in one hand position. They're in a 5-finger pattern. But once they give us finger numbers, that should be major red flag. We're going to have to move. Because here we had a 1 on G, a 2 on A, a 3 on B, a 4 on C, a 5 on D. Now they want us to put a 2 on B, a 4 on D, a 3 on C. So we are switching hand positions every time they give us a finger number, or most of the time they give us a finger number. Sometimes publishers will give us unhelpful fingering numbers. Like we didn't really need this 1 here. That's not a new hand position. But this 2 is, because 2 used to be on A and now 2's on B. We didn't really need that 4 because we're in the new hand position. We really didn't need that 3 because that's the old hand position. So this is a new hand position and this is a new hand position. Does that make sense? So different editors are going to give you different hand positions, fingering.
But I don't see why they did that.
Why they did what?
Why they switched it around. Because
Easy.
Why the composer switched it around, or why they gave you the fingering?
Okay, no, I see why they switched it around, because when you get to number 6, you have to go higher.
Yeah, right here. You got to put a 5 on E.
Okay, but they switched it before you got there.
Yeah, right here. This is the new hand position.
Yeah, they switched it up. They switched it in measure 5.
Yep. So we have 3 hand positions. 1, 2, 3. Good.
Well, not really.
Yes, really.
Oh, yeah. Oh, shoot.
Here's my hand positions. I'm going to draw my piano and show you.
4, 3, 1.
So here's hand position 1. I got my 1 on G, my 2 on A, my 3 on B, my 4 on C, my 5 on D. And I use that hand position from here all the way to there. And then I'm going to change my hand position. Instead of my 2 being on A, now my 2's got to be on B, so my 4 can be on D, so my 5 can be on E. That puts my 3 on C and my 1 on A. So now I'm in an A 5-finger pattern to be able to play all of that. And then I'm going to go back to my original hand position here, putting my 5 on D, my 4 on C, my 3 on B, my 2 on A, and my 1 on G. So I shift my hand and end up playing 3 different places, 2 of which are the same, but you get the idea.
Yeah, but why do they do that? Because the only switchover was that E, and why couldn't you just play that E with the 5th finger and just keep your hands in the same place the whole time?
That's a great question. Let me show you exactly why. So if I stay in that pattern, I'm going to run out of fingers because my 5 is going to be on E, my 3 is going to be on C. That makes my 4 have to take the D, 3, 2, 1. Oh, darn, I'm out of fingers and I got one more note.
Out of fingers.
Yep. So you have 2 options. Change your hand position here or change your hand position here and cross over with a 2 after.
Well, I don't know what you mean that you're out of fingers.
Well, if we're on E,
right,
with our 5,
right,
that means my 4 is on D.
Well, no, I mean just leave your 3 on D. You know, I mean the only switch you have to make if you're starting in G, right?
Yeah.
And then you go all the way up, and your 4 is on F, right?
No.
If you start in G.
If I start on G, my 1 is on G,
Okay,
my 2 is on A, my 3 is on B, my 4 is on C, and my 5 is on D. There's no F. Right?
Oh, yeah, that was C. That was C, right.
So then if I do their hand position switch, which they want me to, that puts my thumb on A, my 2 on B, my 3 on C, my 4 on D, and my 5 on E. And that way I get my 5 here, my 3's on C. I would change this to a 4 rather than a 5 to get my D. Then I leave my 3 there. My 3's on C, my 2's on B, my thumb's on A, and I don't have any more fingers, and I got to go one more note down to get this G. I ran out of fingers. Do you see?
Yeah, and now I see what you're talking about. It took me a long. I had to actually do it with my hand to see it.
Yeah.
Because it looks like you should be able to do it, but
yeah. So by just adding one note right here outside of our 5-finger pattern, it causes us to shift our hand, and it causes us to shift our hand again. And we can shift our hand here like they tell us to, or we can not shift our hand, and then we have to shift our hand here because we ran out of fingers. All right. So, dynamics we talked about. Articulation we talked about. It's all legato in the right hand because we have slur markings. Tempo indication we said was moderato. And expressive markings, there are no expressive markings other than the dynamic that we have. All right, so let's go on to practicing the rhythm. Left hand's pretty easy. Pi, 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 pi. 1 pi pi at the end. Not bad. Let's look at the right hand rhythm. Here we 1, 2, ready, go. Pi 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 pi. Pi 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 pi. Pi 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 pi. Not bad. All right, so let's take it one step further. We're going to tap both hands, but count the right hand rhythm. 1, 2, ready, go. Pi 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 pi. Pi 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 pi. Pi 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 pi. All right, I'm just crossing so it's not backwards for you. You don't have to cross. Hopefully it'll not be backwards for you because I'm crossing. All right, now we're going to do the same thing, but I'm going to count left hand rhythm. 1, 2, ready, go. Pi, 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 pi. Pi, 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 pi. Get a good feel for it?
That's a lot of pi.
It's a lot of pi. All right, now we're going to shadow play it. So shadow play means I'm going to touch the keys, but I'm not going to let them make any noise. All right. Did you notice anything? I noticed something when I shadow played. Hopefully you did too. Anybody notice anything? I noticed, we didn't even talk about this yet. We only talked about the right hand fingering changes. We have left hand fingering changes as well. One of which involves this note right here, which is a black key. Did you notice that?
So when you were shadow playing with both hands?
I was.
I was barely shadow playing with one hand.
And that's totally fine, Edison. I'm glad you're doing it. Yes, you should do both. You should do both.
Okay.
But you should do both hands alone and hands together.
Okay.
But I'm like, oh, that's an F sharp. Did we notice there was F sharps? Did we remember there was F sharps? I know we saw it, but now the rubbers hit the road. Did we really find all of our F sharps? And that's a good thing to do, is just to take your finger and go down the line. Oh, there's an F sharp. Oh, there's another F sharp.
Yeah, because there weren't any in the melody.
Correct. Good. So this is the whole process that we got to get into and get faster at to sight reading. All right. Would you like to try it on your own?
And that's why that other lesson that you gave us said to go ahead when you're previewing the music is to play the scales and the tonic triads and stuff to make sure that you remember about that.
Right. Okay, I want you to go ahead and play it, and then I'll play it afterwards, because I know if I play it now, it'll mess you up. It'll be time delayed with the internet. So go ahead and give it a try, and then I'll play what it should sound like, hopefully. All right, did I give you enough time? Whoa.
I practiced only one hand.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and play it now. One, two, ready, go. How did you do?
I'm able to do both hands separately, but together is like where I have a little bit of trouble.
Okay. So we need to get faster at these things, and here is how I would suggest that you practice. Keep doing everything that we did, but try to start doing it faster. What I want you to know is that every unit in our book has a reading section. Okay. So you can go all the way back to Unit 1. And Unit 1 has a reading section. Granted, it's only going to be one line. But even then, there's reading. Let me find it. I guess that was the reading. Summer Night is the song that we read. Here's some reading patterns that you could do. Single staff. And then, here they are. Reading melodies. There's the reading section. And then we do reading on the grand staff. So this is easy because only one hand's playing at a time, even though it's grand staff. So every unit, there's some kind of reading example. Okay? Also, in the very, very, very back of the book, there's an index. And it gives all the examples for songs in the book. There's all the reading examples. There's harmonization examples. And then there's a repertoire. These are all the pieces in the book, and they're scattered all throughout. Solo repertoire. You can read those as well as the reading examples. So every unit has a reading example. Every unit has some kind of a solo repertoire piece you could also read. Then, right before the index, right before the appendixes, there's a whole section called Supplementary Solo Reading. So you can read those pieces too. They get harder as you go along. So there's plenty of things in your book that you could read. Yeah?
It's like it's a whole book or something.
Yeah. So use the reading sections to get going on your sight reading. We have a sight reading badge, and to get that sight reading badge, you need to read 6 examples that I will give you when you're ready to do them. So we'll have some days where we'll have time to work on our badges. I'll put you in breakout rooms like we did before, and I'll say, all right, if someone would like to work on their sight reading badge, I can hear that now. And we'll do that. So does that help? That's the process that we got to start getting in, the things we got to start looking for, the things we got to start listening for, things we got to start thinking about at a faster pace so that we can sit down and just after a couple minutes, sight read a piece. Okay? We'll keep working on this. Tomorrow we're going to have our piece quiz. So make sure you've chosen a piece and have started it. We'll do breakout rooms on that tomorrow. Questions, comments, concerns?
Should I send you like the sonatina that I'm working on? Should I send you a picture of it, or would you already have it?
You either way. Yeah, you could send me a picture or just tell me which one it is, and I can look up the score too.
Okay.
All right, I'll see you all tomorrow.
Take care,
Dr.
Betsy.
B, can I talk to the class?
Bye, everybody.
Sure.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.